make our coffee out of that.
Go your own way, stones and shadows wide, willows whisper of darkness deep and wide. In the forest, there is no place to hide. Strange bells, tonight I fear that I will not survive the dying of the light.
This is the Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective as well as the stories we're telling at thestarfallcollective.com. We are back. Let's find out who's in this episode. I'm Sir Robert, a father, and I am the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. You may recall that the party has recently split. We have four party members in this week's episode, 3 in the week that went to Miradau, and we're going to be alternating back and forth for several episodes.
A team and then B team and then
That's
now
right.
back to A team.
Back to the A team.
Definitely.
Please say your name, something about yourself if you like, and a brief description of the character you're playing, and especially if you will say something about your character's understanding or interpretation of the events of the previous episode. That'd be great. Patrick, in your case, you weren't in that episode, so don't worry about that. And to let our listeners know, I went down and found something under the white stone in the town, in this lake town. Why don't we start with you?
Hey, I played Belvari, a human something druid, and the last episode was that Diamondback is up to no good. But Belvari is along to try to mitigate the issues with it. And we went and we're crawling through a cave that is entirely too small. And we got into a silence. And he is just using his ability to mold earth to make himself slightly more comfortable and has no idea what's going on.
And thank you for reminding me that. I'm going to give a clarification rules on mold earth versus shape earth. Turns out 2 totally different spells. Clarification about the something that I've been a little fuzzy on when we talked.
Gotcha.
Okay. How about Pat? Why don't you go next?
Sure. I am Patrick. I am playing the half-orc druid Toll, who was out of commission the last episode, and I'm sure he'll find some way to catch up, or maybe he won't. I don't know. He's probably still tired, but willing to help as much as he's able.
And our listeners will remember that in their encounter with the Baisugen, Toll, I should say, aged 10 years. He has spent the past 48 hours game time recuperating from that experience. When you do come into this, Patrick, you're going to be ready. you might still or something, a little bit tired or something, but you're ready to engage. You're at full strength. There's nothing crazy. Also, remember that you did gain 1 point to either Constitution or Strength permanently.
Yeah, I think I gave that to myself.
Okay, great. And Jacob, why don't you go next?
Hi, I am Jacob Burbridge, and I will be playing Talad, who has recently had their prized chisel stolen by a gremlin-sized diamondback.
Did you give it to him?
No, he succeeded on the strength check and stole it from me.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he took it and started chiseling away at the whatever it was.
Okay.
I
Sounds
thought
good.
We were cooperating.
I think Diamondback always thinks that he's collaborating with the people around him.
I just didn't know it.
More like it.
That's right. And Matt, why don't you go?
Hey, my name is Matthew Talamini. I'm a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island, and you can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless wizard, Diamondback.
Okay. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your perspective on the last episode?
Well, Diamondback seeks above all things power. Maybe not above all things. He wants the power for something. But mostly it's about power. And Belvari has a power that Diamondback doesn't have, which is the ability to do magic without having to fiddle with all these components. And he wants it.
Illusions.
And there's some sort of focus object that can give it to him, and there's a way to find it, and he's been pursuing that pretty wholeheartedly. And it's led him to this place with now what seems to be an extremely dangerous entity.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead. We're going to say anything else?
Well, did I ascertain whether the phylactery is or is not my focus? Do I need to get this thing?
You have not ascertained that.
Right. Okay, well then let's...
What you do know is that the pressure that you feel... Sorry. Yes. Here's what you know. When you get close to it, it is right there. It's always pointing directly at it. And it's also, that's right, I remember that now. Sorry, I had to page that memory in. It's also exactly what the creature is reaching for. Her hand, as she's kind of partially encased in the stone and can't extend, is about 18 inches from the phylactery. It's all the little golden skull. It's not actually gold. It's a yellowish metal, brass, bronze, gold type of metal. It's about 18 inches away. She can't reach it. And as you got in, that's right, you did have your potion effect, and it was pointing directly at it. So yes.
Okay.
All right. There we are. So before I'm going to do a quick recap for our audience about, not recap, I'm going to do a quick note for our audience and for Diamondback about this phylactery. But before that, a clarification on Mold Earth. So there's a spell called Shape Earth, and for stone, that is a level, I think, 4 spell. So it's a much more, and Mold Earth is the cantrip version of that. And I just want to read to you and then make the clarification that has been a little fuzzy in my own mind. You choose a portion of dirt or stone that you can see within range and that fits within a 5-foot cube. You manipulate it in one of the following ways. There's 3 ways. 1, if you target an area of loose earth, which I think means like not rammed earth, but like if you're on a path, that counts. Like it's, trodden down counts as loose enough. Shovelable, work. If you target an area of loose earth, you can instantaneously excavate it, move it along the ground, and deposit it up to 5 feet away. this movement does not have enough force to cause damage. So you're basically making a pile of earth slide along the ground to 5 feet away. Or 2, you can cause shapes, colors, or both to or stone, spelling out words, creating images, shaping patterns. The changes last for an hour. My interpretation of that, and I'm open to other interpretations too, but my interpretation of that is that you're doing essentially like on the stone, like a Roman style, call some pictures on the surface, maybe an inch thick or something like that, an inch deep. 3, if the dirt or stone you target is on the ground, you cause it to become difficult terrain.
Gotcha. So all you can do is move loose dirt.
You can move loose dirt, and you can alternatively you can cause it difficult, and the change lasts for an hour.
2 of those effects at a time.
Yeah, if you cast a spell multiple times, you can have no more than 2 of its non effects active, and then you can dismiss it as an effect, as an action. Which means if you make shapes or pictures in the stone, like basically a drawing, you can dismiss it with a wave of your hand, and poof, it goes away. If you've made it rough terrain, it'll smooth out back to its normal state, vice versa. The important note about that is you cannot excavate stone. It's the same thing. So when you were talking about making it a little more roomy, and I basically said it's, you get a little extra breathing room. As this tight space that has little jaggedy bits, you kind of smoothed out for the hour. But this is not something where you're able to say, for example, if you were at a castle with this spell, you wouldn't be able to just remove 5-foot cubes of the castle wall.
And then we had those snakes in the house. That was silt that I stopped?
That's right.
With? Okay,
that's
so
right.
That was fine.
That's basically the equivalent of loose dirt. Hey, John, would you do me a favor? I meant to make some tea. Would you boil some water or something? If we have good water, that'd be great. If not, boil water's fine. Okay. Thanks, I appreciate it. Maybe a bottle? Okay, that's fine. There we go. So I'd like Dwight, Jacob, and Pat, if y'all just give me and Matt a minute or two to talk about the other part.
So,
all right, Pat, have you gone away and can't hear me? I'm just kidding. Okay, for our listening audience, at the end of the last episode, Diamondback, as he's interacting with this creature that's partially encased in stone, remember the black stone has washed down this tunnel, and seemingly wherever that black stone rests, it sort of fuses back into the other stone, like it becomes a single stone again, some property of this strange stone. Okay, this creature is partially encased. Also partially encased, just out of reach of the creature, is a little yellow metal, kind of bronzy, brassy skull with some inlaid jewels and things like that. After a little bit of interaction, Diamondback rolled an Arcana check, and a word popped to mind for what this is. He suddenly put together some pieces and realized this is a phylactery. Now, for our listening audience, I want to let you know what the implications of that are, because it's kind of a significant find and could have very, very significant impact on the course of events. Here we are. Sorry, one sec. I thought I had brought this up, but I did not. I'm sorry about that. Okay. this it? Dang, I had a bookmark. Those of you listening to the podcast, you will not know that this is not going well because I will cut all this in post.
It's going fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Here we go. Is this what I'm looking for? Okay. Okay, here we go. The phylactery, a phylactery is a device, sort of a magical item that belongs to a creature called a lich. A lich is a very powerful undead wizard, especially a necromancer or something like that. In this case, here's what a phylactery does. If the lich has a phylactery, at the time of its death, there's a 1d10, and within that many days, the lich is resurrected within 5 feet of the phylactery in full health, in a fully rejuvenated body. In this case for you, Matt, here's what Diamondback will have put together about what's happening here. Maybe not instantly, but pretty quick. This lich is in a really, really tight space encased in this stone. There's nowhere within 5 feet of that phylactery for the lich to form except the empty space of its corpse. So the space where it is right now. So the lich has died. The phylactery raises it from the dead back into its encased spot again. And if it dies again, and Diamondback will have understood there's a little bit of a cycle here, right? Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, go on. Tell me more. It's my impression that the lich requires human sacrifice to like charge up the phylactery. So that's probably true. In a weakened state if this has been going on over and over again for who knows how long.
So a lich's phylactery, being an undead and necromancer creature, the power that the lich gets for this is through the consuming of the souls of others. Right? I'm not going to say anything more about that at the moment. However, some of the implications will be obvious shortly. You'll find out some things. The other half of the party found out some things last time. You'll have a partial revelation. Also, I just want to point out, I mentioned this in the last episode. This is something Diamondback would have noticed. So I want to point it out into Matt's mind that when you see this lich craning to see, she's a naga. She's a serpentine woman.
Right.
And her facial features bear a striking resemblance to the features of the Baisujin. Okay?
Yeah. I don't know anything about liches acting as ghosts or projecting their ghosts or anything like that.
So,
or do I?
Or do you? No, you don't right now. Specifically, it is not like, at least it's not known lore that you know of for how liches go. You would not have met a lich yet, right? Just because they're very rare and powerful.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Oh yeah, of course. No way.
So you would, just to let our listening audience know, there would not have been, for example, a lich in his village. They're extremely rare, powerful. You could think of them in a sort of Greek mythology like Hercules. It's a strange, super rare thing in existence. A wizard that's level like 18 to 20, basically. Okay, I think you have everything you need to know. The really big thing I want to point out, Matt, is and I'm pointing this out to Matt specifically. This is a phylactery. This is a lich. It's a probably not. Sorry. You should not think, oh, maybe it's a nerfed lich. I'll just do some random things. I just treat it as a straight up normal relationship in D&D. Okay. I say that,
respect
and I say that for our audience because of the power level, and I wouldn't want Matt to have a misconception going into this that causes him to do things he didn't mean to do.
Diamondback knows that this is something like this is a nearly from or compared to his own power, this is like God tier.
Yeah.
This is
probably comparable. Sorry, go ahead.
This creature kills people like me, like not even on
With
its
a word.
turn in battle.
That's right.
It hasn't even had a turn to act yet, and it kills people like me.
So
Doesn't
that's
have
right.
to
And
even
one
look at us.
you will note, Matt, that you cannot convey any of this to the other two immediately because you're in a sphere of silence.
Yes,
So-
but I did make all sorts of hand gestures, like
Yeah, let's get away. This kind of
Right,
thing. And we'll
gesture.
narrate some of that. We'll narrate what you're doing for some of that for the listening audience as well. Okay, Pat, I don't know if you're there, but I don't know even how I would tell you this, but come back. And I will also have Dwight, Jacob. Yep. We're ready.
I think maybe if Dwight and Jacob wave through your camera, Patrick might
That's
see
right.
it.
I heard my name shouted.
Oh,
Okay, great.
How'd you
I'll
hear
just
your
stand
name shouted?
eerily in the corner.
And just to let our listening audience know, I was not feeling well, and I have a little bit of mood-altering medicine, so I'm feeling great. And you might notice a difference. Sorry, I can feel myself a little addled. But I'll edit it in post, suckers.
We'll have to redo this one again. So remember everything you want to do.
Okay, I'm gonna grab my dice. Give me 1 sec.
Dice grabbing. It's pretty dense. Lots of creatures.
There's one in here. That one is like. It would have worked great for this kind of setting. Oh, here it is. It's a spider, but its legs look like tree trunks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That you don't want to mess with.
Yeah. And they're pack creatures, so, it's like a traveling forest.
All right. I couldn't find them, so here they are right
Fake
from
dice.
last week. Okay. Let's jump into this episode. Thanks, guys. At the end of the last episode, Diamondback, Belvari, and Talid.
Last episode we were in.
Say it again.
The last episode we were in.
Sorry, the last episode you were in. Diamondback, Belvari, and Talid had wound their way down a corridor that looked purposefully made. It's not a cave. It's a hallway that spirals below the fountain with the white stone floating above it.
The entrance though is a crack.
The entrance was a sort of a fissure in the black stone surface, but you'll remember when you went down into it, the tunnel continued partially blocked into the nearest house, into the nearest building.
Gotcha.
Where those skeletons were. You decided, because it was partially blocked, you went down the other way, and that way spiraled in a tightening circle into some kind of chamber here. Over some event, possibly the event that caused the fissure in the Blackstone, this black stone kind of silt has washed down the tunnel some time ago. You're not sure. And because of the way the stone works, it fuses seamlessly when it rests on other stone of its kind. And it fused. And this area that you're in is full of strange shapes of rock and so forth. You've had to squeeze your way through. And Diamondback, using his magical potion to find his focus, has found it. It appears to be Diamondback being a necromancer who kind of focuses on religiously a cult of snake people. It turns out his appears to be the phylactery of a snake lich.
But I can't see this. All I see is
Coincidence or cosmic forces at work? No, you can't see that. You can only see Talid, who's directly in front of you. Diamondback used some components, even though you're in a sphere of silence. He used some components and shrunk himself to half size so that he had more. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. He had a potion from that month of travel. He shrunk himself to half size so that he could have a little more working room. It also allowed Talid to move forward and start using his stoneworking tools to chisel the creature, to try to set the creature free. That was before Diamondback had a sudden understanding of what was happening. We stopped with Diamondback putting some things together, making a connection, and he started gesturing wildly to Talid to stop what he's doing and so forth. And to my understanding, just remind me the details.
Oh, I grabbed the chisel out of his hand so that he would stop.
Okay. Yeah. Grab the chisel out of his hand so that he would stop trying to free this creature.
I'm also pushing him backwards.
Yeah, as though to leave. Yeah. We are going to pick up at that exact spot. And Matt, why don't you pick up with what's happening here?
I look at my friend Talid to try and ascertain whether he has understood that he needs to get out of here, and whether he has picked up the panic in my eyes.
I'm just as panicked, honestly, but not in the same way because someone just stole my chisel.
Favorite chisel.
I understand that, you're panicked and all of that stuff. So I'm just going to ask for the chisel back by holding my hand out.
Diamondback, let's see. Geez, okay. We'll see how smart Diamondback is.
Roll for smartness.
Diamondback turns out he's okay, smart, and he puts it into your hand and then shoos you back. Like, get back, get back, get back.
And there's a foot or two between you and Bel, but he's blocking you. What do you do?
I'll shuffle backwards, but then use my sort of questioningly use my chisel thing to point back at the stuck person. Like, shouldn't we say him? Her? I don't even know.
When you gesture at the stuck Naga, Diamondback shakes his head violently with a panicked expression, like that's the worst thing you could do. But then
you knock yourself out violently, just
almost, yes. Yes, it's an extreme gesture. But then he lifts up one finger and he points at the metal skull. And Sir Robert, I'm going to try and take it just with my hands, just pry it out.
Okay. It is partially, like the Naga, it has been partially covered with this silt that has fused. You can't just by strength pull it.
Okay.
It's partially encased in stone.
I'll start chipping away at it. Diamondback, you obviously seem like you want it more than whatever this creature is. So I'll just tink, 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 tink.
I don't know. That other creature kind of looks like it wants
You know what, Diamondback? Would you put your hands on it at all?
Yeah, to try and pry it out. I touch it. I grab
Yeah.
it and try and shift it out of the rock that it's stuck in.
When you do that, you feel a different feeling than you've ever had before of
or sense.
Of what?
Or sense.
Or sense, that's right. And you can tell it's feel power or anything like that. It's not surging, anything like that. But it has the holding of it, a feeling like the feeling of the mist flowing through you when you use components. You have a strong sense as you touch. Only a small portion of it is exposed. So the whole thing itself is, maybe 6 inches across, or so inches of that exposed with the surface. It has a couple of gems for eye socket in the eye sockets of the skull. And if you put your hand on that, you have a sense of magic and flow. So there you go. You could try to do something here with.
We haven't really talked about what spells I'm going to have.
That's right.
Although there are two that I definitely have because I got them as part of a feat. So as soon as I get this thing, I can do those. But both of those actually require verbal components, so won't be able to cast
Sphere of
Silence.
Silence. Well, I just want to give you that piece of information that you do have experience of this. I'll let you decide.
I'm going to allow Talid to chip away at the stone around this thing.
I feel like you should be allowed.
I'm like going to make room and sort of gesture to him to go ahead, but I'm also going to gesture him like to stay the heck away from this creature.
Yeah. So I'll do that, at it. And
Tink, tink.
Talon.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me go closer. Talon, you estimate here, and if you remember, you were able to carve some little images into the stones at Sarakhan, and you were also able to chip a piece of this off. It's hard stone. You estimate it's going to take you a couple of, depending on how big the skull is. You can't tell from how much is sticking out for sure. You estimate it'll take you a few hours to get the whole thing free. Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell, but.
I'll keep I don't really have a good way of telling Diamondback how much time it's going to take.
Yeah.
I think that after a few minutes, I'll see how much progress you made.
And then point out how many times.
Yeah. I was going to go it's going to take a lot of time, tapping my wrist, but we don't have watches. Oh, yeah. Do we have pockets, pocket sundials?
You do not.
We can just hold them up. I guess.
No, we don't. Time is not like that here. That's not.
Oh yeah.
You don't even know what the sun is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have
I have
canopy
this
dials.
question. Hold on. I'm gonna do a little. I have to do a little research because. Let me see.
Bilvari, you can see around Talon a little bit. I mean, like I said, there's shapes kind of stone and everything.
I have this.
You see.
Go ahead.
You see Diamondback with some real fervor and genuine fear, getting them to leave. But you also then see both of them stop to do something a little bit out of sight.
I also remember that he was afraid of that little snake ghost earlier. So, I mean, he could be afraid of who knows what.
That one that wasn't that scary to you?
Yeah. Didn't scare me.
All right. So Matt, go ahead.
I'm going to get out. This is some player trying to convince the DM of some BS. So here goes.
My favorite.
Diamondback's going to get out the down of a glossy beaked shrike, and using only somatic components. This has no verbal components to this spell. He's going to cast True Strike. Wait, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sure. I'll just try it. I cast True Strike on myself. You can't cast it on somebody else. It's on yourself. And I gain. I point a finger at a target in range. My magic grants me a brief insight into the target's defenses. On my next turn, I gain advantage on my first attack roll against the target, providing the spell hasn't ended. I would like to get some insight into the stone that is gripping onto this phylactery and see if I can find out anything about its defenses that I might be able to communicate to Talon to increase the effectiveness of his work.
And they say True Strike's a useless cantrip.
To Diamondback's chagrin, the psychology of the stone is impenetrable.
Okay, next up.
Use it on the person because she's connected to the stone.
Oh boy.
True Strike on her.
I'm not touching her.
Okay.
Let me see. Let's see. Drat. That has verbal component.
How big is this sphere?
Which sphere?
How long have we noticed that we're silent?
Yes.
Oh, it's been like we were traveling for like 20 minutes after we found it. Yeah.
Wow. It's a lot of silent.
Through tight spaces.
Yeah, but
That's
still,
slow travel.
in the usual silent sphere, the one that's not apparently permanent, like 60 feet or something.
Yeah, you've been traveling for. You've been moving through this silence. You have been moving through this silence for a goodly distance, noting that you're crawling slowly through little rocky, spelunking crevices.
Drat. Everything has verbal components. How about this one? Oh wait, no, that's the one I was looking at.
Are there any animals I could turn into that can chisel rock faster?
Yeah, I'll bet.
Maybe. If you could polymorph into a purple one, that would be really useful, actually. Also, we'd all die. So, that would also be less useful. Back up a bit, though.
I attempt to use mending on the stone to return it to its natural flat shape and pop the thing out. Bip. Mending. The stone is mended and is smooth again. Boop. It pops out.
Also, to Diamondback's chagrin, it appears to have mended itself into this state when it washed down the tunnel.
You've undone all of the work that Talon has done to this point.
That's right.
I just kind of turned to you and were like, bro, what the crud? Why would you do that?
Okay, let's see about this.
Use your panic energy and just like grab it and pull it out.
I tried. I didn't even get to make a strength check.
Are you even King Arthur? Or?
Because at best he'd be able to push it in.
Ooh, if you push it far enough, you might be able to grab it out the other side.
That's right. All the way to China.
At least it'd be further away from your friend.
Can I just like carve the part that's open? Like the front part of the skull is like however big. Could I just like carve out that front piece of the skull and then take it? He can take it.
To your surprise, Tal chip at it. The metal of the skull, the shape of it, seems to be protective magic, making this item very difficult to destroy.
Cool.
That to let our listeners know, that's part of D&D lore regarding phylacteries. It's hard to destroy them.
Well, let me look up one more spell. This time that we're having is Diamondback like searching through his bag and like thinking about stuff that he could try and do while Talad continues to tap away at it.
Let me guess, animal friendship.
All of these spells require me to say stuff.
Well, I guess we should just give up and leave.
Well, I can't think of anything to do.
Is there room? Can Belvari like enter this area, or is he just at the entrance?
Mm-hmm.
He can now see it all, but he can't.
It's not quite right to say entrance. It's more like the path that they have managed to wiggle through.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the rear of that path. Where are you in what would be a room if it weren't full of crazy stuff? Who knows?
Gotcha. Is there more path beyond, possibly?
Not that seems traversable by you all, although there are like crannies and clearly the water flowed through and has sometimes gone somewhere. Remember, the space that you're in is your path did not go directly to this spot. You were able to find a path with Diamondback's potion pointing him in the general direction to keep trying to go.
Gotcha. I use mold earth to write on the wall, and I say, "Hey, see if you can keep going past this. Maybe there's something, a little further on."
Oh, I thought it was a dead end.
This part, Diamondback, from where you are, there's no obvious way forward. Again, there are holes and little crevices, and it's kind of, if you think of it as it feels like you're in, like you're spelunking in a very tight cave, although you can see that you're in. It's like semi-porous, the whole area.
Yeah, so like on the wall, I write like maybe you can get around behind this thing and.
Yeah, okay, so I crawl around and I explore the space a little bit, keeping as far as possible from the lich.
Yeah.
At all times.
You don't see a good way to get around it.
The size, right?
He's smaller. He can go a little further. You don't see a good way. The skull is fused into a piece of this black rock that's not like larger than any other, but it's a big, heavy chunk, like many feet thick and, shaped funny-wise.
But I mean, I would like to explore the room so that I know the general architectural shape of the space that I'm in.
To the best of that's fine. To the best of your ability to tell, although you cannot always you think is the edge of the room. To the best of your ability to tell, probably it's a circular room that tapers towards the top, not like a semicircle, not like a hemisphere, but like tapers in 25% towards the top. So the walls are arched, with a flat floor and maybe some other exits if you could find them. You seem to notice anything about that. That said, whatever you find that does seem to be a wall of the room is the whole rest of this is made of, and it's all kind of fused together with the stalactite / gravels.
So it's too.
And it's very dark. There's black stone, no real light aside from your shoulders at this point, Diamondback.
And half as much of that because he's half the size.
That's right. So you're not in like it's not well lit or anything. You're kind of feeling around in the dark, and except light around you, seeing moving shadows through the little openings in the rock.
No amount of moving around can reveal anything new.
You try for.
Until Talad is finished. Half an hour.
Okay. Yeah, you don't really find any way to.
Cool. I give up on that, and I help Talad. I mop his brow with a moist handkerchief. I move the scraps of rock out of the way of his chisel and push them aside.
Tell me, Matt. Do you have the description of enlarge reduce that you had?
I believe it's consumed.
Yeah. Did I give you? Do you remember any special instruction? The duration of enlarge reduce is a minute.
Oh yeah. So the potion of diminution that I used, actually, it is
That's
still in here. I have a 0 quantity of it. When you drink this potion, you gain the reduce effect of the enlarge reduce spell for 1d4 hours. No concentration required.
Mm-hmm.
I think we rolled for it, didn't we? But I don't remember what we rolled.
I think so, and my recollection was a 2.
Let me see if I wrote it down. I should have written it down. Nope, didn't write it down. It can be 2.
So, yeah. So you've probably got your best guess. I don't know if you would know that, but let's say sure you have a sense of you're going to start tingling, whatever, and going to enlarge again, or go to normal size. Talad has made some progress. It is not a human skull. It probably looks Naga-ish, based on what you can tell so far. You're not sure exactly how much more of it's in the stone. It is still firm, stuck fast, and you feel yourself tingling with growth or pre-growth. Soon you're going to need to be in a spot where you won't be stuck, were you to return to your size.
Okay, I put my hand on the skull.
Mm-hmm.
And I look within. I know lots
within
of
yourself.
things within myself.
Okay.
I search my mind palace. I know many things about many different spells. Do I come up with any spells that I can cast now?
You know what? Let me give me a second.
It's just Firebolt. That's the only.
Let me. That's a great question, Matt. Let me tell you what. I'm going to look through the catalog of spells here and tell you something that would work for you, or I'll tell you some things that you think. Okay. Did it go? Did it not go? What's going on?
I mean, and also, as soon as I get the sense that my return, that my potion wearing off is imminent, I will, prevent danger from that by shooing Belvari back and making motions to indicate that I'm about to be enlarged again, and trying to get the chisel from him to continue work myself in the space.
Yeah.
I don't have the chisel.
Not Belvari.
So Diamondback. Diamondback, you feel a sense that some of the magic that you from your childhood basically and on is more accessible to you than others. There's some that you feel a sort of confidence about, that you think this is something I understand better, and touching what I can touch of this thing in front of me, you have some confidence about I'm going to tell you the spell names, and these are things that you may or may not, you have different levels of confidence, and I'm not saying you definitely can cast these. I'm saying these are like accessible to you from your knowledge base, but you feel like chill touch is something that makes sense to you about this. Spare the dying, toll the dead.
Toll is not dead. He's just back at camp.
That's just his title.
No, I think that was
so
the other one.
necromancy spells.
Yeah, necromancy spells. Up to about, just for D&D terms, around second level. So blindness and deafness, ray of sickness, and these things you know about and have cast with components before or seen people cast with components before, you feel like you could use that way, having seen and understood some of what Belvari's doing.
Yeah.
And maybe Garriott even, you're not sure.
Belvari writes on the wall, "Is that your focus?" And then he writes yes and no, and then he invites him to point.
Diamondback points at yes.
Belvari writes, "You should get it."
Diamondback makes a no duh face.
So you did mention the like half-inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
Can I use that to? I guess I can only get 1 inch.
Yeah, you'd get it would temporarily make some of it a little easier, but he still has to do a fair bit of carving.
Gotcha. Well, if I can get to it, I'll
do that.
Do a circle around it. 2 circles, each a half-inch deep.
Okay. And Diamondback, you feel yourself ready to start growing back to your size. This is going to take you a little more effort than you're prepared to be able to do right now.
I push Talid back out of the thing, and then I grow back to my size. I'm just going to try a chill touch. I got a ghostly skeletal hand that moves through underground spaces. I've only ever used it to harm living creatures with necrotic damage, but maybe it'll work on rocks. I give it a try.
And to your surprise, but not, you're sort of half expecting it's almost too good to be true. As you do this, you see a spectral hand, though you have used no components. You see a spectral hand sort of form near your own hand in the stone, and it moves through the stone and rock, though not to any significant effect. You do, however, Diamondback, have a sense of near euphoria at apprehending what you've just done.
I'm quite happy. I get the chisel from Talid, and I
do you really?
continue work.
Okay, y'all do want to do a contested strength check, or
No,
Talid, would you just?
I hold out my hand for it.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you'd take it from him. Talid, would you give somebody else your chisel?
I'm going to look cautiously at Diamondback and give him a stare that says, "You better give it back next time," and just, give it to him.
Okay.
I get it. I go back to work. He's already done like half of it.
Yeah, he's done a fair bit of work. It's been a few hours.
Having observed him for a long time.
All right.
The Baisugen writhes and wriggles.
Indeed. How long do you want to
get
work on it?
tired, but continue. But I continue working. Poor
Okay.
Belvari gets really bored.
Work you do. Are you willing to? How long are you willing to work on it? Just indefinitely till you get it?
Before he entertains himself.
Until something happens. Until
Okay.
I get it.
You chip and chip and chip at this piece of little bits of stone falling off. I guess maybe you're just waiting, Talad?
Yeah. Oh, we can play tic-tac-toe behind him with your like shape rock thing.
If you have, but you have to have it too.
Well, I can just
you
point
can
to...
point.
Yeah. We'll do that.
We do that.
Yeah.
It's called orcs and half orcs.
I take
draw little
a.
orcs. You draw little half orcs.
Diamondback, you do so.
I draw them for you.
I take a short break every 15 minutes to carefully sharpen the chisel, respectfully.
Tal approves.
Yeah, you do so, Diamondback. And after a couple of hours of work between the two of you, it's been several hours, Diamondback, you're able to remove the little skull. And when you do so, so it's still got large chunks of, not large, it's still got chunks of stone. It's, you've carved the stone out of it. It's like not perfectly pristinely removed from the black stone, but you have it in hand.
I can chisel those off when we get back up.
As soon as it comes free, I tuck it away in my pouch, and I gesture to my friends to get on out of here. Let's move on, friends.
I'd like to finish the game that we were having real quick. Just
I wait for the end
but then,
of the three-dimensional
worry,
tic-tac-toe game.
Possibly by cheating. I didn't see that you pointed there. You can't argue because you're silent.
all right. So we'll head out. Yeah.
All right. You wind your way out and are going back, and it's relatively uneventful. Just like it was coming in, you make your way back out and you go to your place.
Wait,
Pat, are you there? Sorry, go ahead. Diamondback?
when does the sphere of silence stop?
At the same spot where it started.
That's awesome.
I would like to ask why we just left that person there.
I say
Diamondback.
We'll come back to you in a minute.
okay.
You guys, you'll make your way out. But Pat, are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Let me think about the best way to. Let me see. Pat, so during this time, so this is at the same concurrently with you doing this. Pat, Yoshka and Neno come trotting up. You are on the circle of black stone where your camp has been, the one where the dragon used to be circled around you. Yoshka and Neno come trotting up, and you're resting on this bit, but they call out and they say, "Teko, Teko!" And he comes over to them. They have some quick discussion, and Teko runs basically towards the entrance to the town. Yoshka comes over to where you, Toll, and Lambrel are doing, just doing some normal stuff, wrapping up from breakfast.
Wait, I'm confused. What town? I thought Toll was at our campsite by the edge of the lake.
Yes.
Lake town.
The lake, which appears now to be a town.
City.
Oh,
thing.
okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yep.
A deserted city
deserted.
of devils and satans.
Sure. Neno trots off with Teko. As Teko runs, Neno quickly bustles after him. Yoshka comes, Toll, and Lambrel, and says to the two of you, "We've got some information about Teko's daughter. Come, quickly." What do you do, Toll?
I'll get up and I'll go. And
Okay. It takes you a good 15 minutes at the pace that y'all are running, because you got to go, around the outside of the circle a little bit, up that little tunnel, and up the main street where y'all have been excavating some. And you find the place. Yoshka leads you to the place where the teleportation circle is, the big room. Toll, you haven't seen any of this town yet. You've been recuperating. What you see is that there is dampness and wetness, as you would expect. There's this silty lake bottom muck that has been cleared out of a lot of spots, and there are what appear to be black stone buildings on either side. There's one that has a large teleportation circle inside of it, and another that Yoshka points out on the way as you jog past that they have cleared out and appears to be a safe enough spot to be able to camp. That said, as you're looking, he beckons you and Lambrel forward and motions quickly. You get to what appears to be something like an alley. The muck is deep there, but not super deep. It's probably low shin deep for you. You're able to kind of slog through it. Up ahead of you, you see two notable things. One, Inkatink, Neno, and Teko are maybe 150-ish feet down this alleyway between two buildings. It's narrow. It's not like a full road or something. It's more small. It's a smaller, narrower path, and has muck in it still. You see them congregated at a certain spot about 150 feet, and Teko is clearly excited in some way. He's animated in some way. And you also see above them, about 15 feet off the ground that they are looking at, something that's very difficult for you to understand what it is you're seeing. It appears to be streaks, long streaks, going roughly horizontally into the building near them that are transparent and hard to understand, a little bit of horizontal motion. And the best way you can describe it in your own mind is that it almost looks like wind, except that wind doesn't look like anything. So you're standing there at the corner. Sorry, go ahead.
Does it remind me of the ever-present mist? Or is
It does not.
It's different.
It's street, some browns and blues and different sort of shades of color. It's not like a rainbow. It's just got streaks of different colors, some whites, yellowish. Okay. That said, Yoshka points in the direction that you're going, like towards where they are. And sorry, I was trying to have, here we go. 1 sec. I thought I had this document open. Almost do. And Yoshka says, if this is the right document, yes, great. Yoshka says, it's Adina. And you'll remember, Toll, that's Teko's daughter.
She's making the colors?
Yoshka says, I don't know what to tell you. Come see. And he starts slogging through the muck down this alleyway.
I guess I'll go with him.
Yeah. Lambrel follows after you. Toll. When you get there, you look up and you don't really still understand what you're looking for, except that these streaks of color end at a particular spot, more or less right above where Teko, Neno, and Inkatink are standing. Inkatink is actually is on top of one corner of a low building nearby, and they're trying to help Teko scramble up to stand on the corner of that building. The corner of that building is approximately at the same height, about 10, 15 feet as this strange streak. As y'all approach, Teko manages to get to the top and begins to weep.
I must have missed a lot.
Neno, seeing you there, tells you to come, and she says it's difficult to explain, but you'll have to see it from up there. You want them to help you get up?
No, he can probably manage it.
Okay. So you scramble up. It takes you a little bit, but there's some muck and a little shape, and you're able to pull yourself up. These streaks are, it would be difficult to describe them better than I have. It's just lines of color going horizontally, apparently starting at a particular spot and moving towards the white stone approximately. They seem to be moving like for example, a given blue streak seems to have a motion towards the stone, and it doesn't make any sense. However, when you get on top of the corner and you look at the streak as though looking down the streak, so it is becoming a single thing in your field of view, it is clearly Adina. She appears to be, when you're looking straight at her, she appears to have a pained look on her face and is reaching and straining as though moving.
Do all of the different rays have this same vision, or whatever you want to call it?
From here, what you realize is that the streak of blue that you saw was the color of her necklace streaked out behind her. The yellows were from her hair, some white and brown of her clothing. From the side, it's her stretched out, and the motion that you see is this reaching and moving that she's doing, being streaked. From the front, when those streaks are all you're looking down the length of them, it appears to be an almost ephemeral version of her. It's kind of transparent, kind of whatever. Not like a ghost, full color, lifelike and everything, but she's straining and reaching. Inkatink is there, and as y'all are there, has been talking with Neno. Sorry, Inkatink is there and has been talking with Teko for a few moments. And while Yoshka and Neno were off getting you all, you piece together from what Inkatink has told Teko that though she seems to be straining towards the south, she actually is very slowly, it looks like, being drawn north towards the white stone.
I have an idea. Has anybody tried, has anyone tried to communicate with her in any way?
Yeah, she seems more or less oblivious to everything around her.
Okay, I'm going to try to use message to say something. Has anybody done that?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like it's worth a shot.
You have components for that, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you say?
Yeah, it's just as simple as I can say something to her and she can say something back, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It has let me see here. It has a range of 120 feet. Target, and it's like a whisper, and the target can reply in a whisper that only you can hear.
And I would have to cast message once for each thing I say to her and then that she says back to me.
Her response is free. It comes with the initial casting, but each message would be a separate cast.
Okay. I am going to say, Adina, it's Toll. How can we help you?
She stops for a moment and sort of cocks her head a little bit. And then after a moment, looks as though she's speaking, like you see the form of her making sounds, but you only hear. It could be a response, but it's garbled and strange. It's distortions and noise that don't make sense as speech that you can understand. It corresponds to the movement of quote unquote her mouth.
So can she move, or can she appear to move her other appendages at all?
She seems to have unconstrained movement, and she's reaching and not jogging or anything. She's clearly not like walking in place, but she's like straining and reaching and sort of stumbling towards the south. After a few moments, Teko, who has regained some of his composure, seems to have a click of understanding and says, she's reaching for home. And actually, you realize that the general direction, and Teko seems to know more precise, is in the direction of Sarakan.
Okay. Inkatink is up there too, right?
On the corner of this with you, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look at him and say, I'm going to ask her to pantomime what we should do to help her. And if you can memorize it, maybe we'll be able to reference it later. So I will cast message again, and I will say, Adina, we can't understand what you're saying, but try to pantomime what you want us to do, and we'll try to do it as best we can.
Again, she is surprised and caught off guard, looking. And then she seems to start tearing up or as though crying or something. And clearly she's responding somehow. You hear a garbled communication back again. But the biggest thing about that is she seems to be shrugging and reaching and straining. It doesn't look like she has a clear answer for you.
Well, that was worth a shot.
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think he can think of anything else to ask that, because I don't think she could explain how she got into this situation.
Yeah.
Being able to speak.
So you could probably also talk to Teko. Remember, he was with her when they were out hunting when this happened. Yoshka, Inkatink, and Neno let you all know that it's pretty urgent for them to get through the teleportation circle. Inkatink goes ahead and they tell you that basically the teleportation and what they'd like to do, they convey, is to have Teko indicates that he's going to basically stay. He's going to live at this spot, trying to figure out what to do. Inkatink, Yoshka, and Neno Toll suggest that you and Lambrel could move camp into the building that they showed you that looked like a safe spot. It's only a 2 or 3 minute walk from, or kind of trudge from where Adina is. Teko is favorable for that idea. He doesn't want to actually go away from her right now and lose sight of her. But if y'all want to move to camp, you could spend an hour or two doing that, a couple hours doing that, and your camp would be in this. You moved into the interior of this building.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Does that place where she's in focus seem to be standing still?
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, there's not obvious motion, although Inkatink seems to indicate that in the hour that he's been watching her, she seems to have receded very slightly. You're fine with that, Toll?
Yeah, I was also thinking, though, that she's being pulled toward the white stone, you said, right?
Yeah.
How quickly is that happening?
not super quickly.
Okay.
Note that when Teko came in danger, like with Adina in his arms, collapsed and with no, in sort of like a coma or something. That was about 6 or 7 days ago. You'll recall that she had gone to the lake's edge because they had been hunting a bird, something like pheasant, got to the lake's edge, and the Bai Sujen was talking with her. Teko ran towards her to save her, to say, "Don't, no, this is dangerous." And as the Bai Sujen saw that Teko was pulling Adina away, it reached out and grabbed Adina, at which point, at that moment, she fell limp. Teko picked her up and ran with her. That was a week ago. What you can piece together, just estimating from visually where she would have been, in that week, she's moved about a third of the way towards the White Stone. Ballpark.
Okay, so she's got some time left.
It's a slow movement.
I was thinking if it needed to be a priority, we could try to move the stone. Like we don't seem to be able to move her, but perhaps.
Yeah.
That.
From your height, by the way, from your new vantage point where you can see her intact, when you look straight down the corridor of her, so to speak, of her streaks, what you actually see is that the streaks only go for a few hundred feet. They're not all the way to the stone. It's not like streaking all the way there, but it's going in that direction. And actually, it appears to be going towards the stone, but maybe 60 or 80 feet under the stone, being drawn towards some spot.
Interesting.
How close am I to all this?
You right now are down with the Lich and Phylactery.
Okay.
Okay, Toll. So you're going to go move camp with Lamb. We'll leave Teko here, and the other 3 members of the party are going to go into the teleportation circle. And so it is. They seem to leave. So Toll, it is. Let's jump back to Diamondback et al. You've gotten out of the sphere of silence. You are emerging through where the. You're going to go, to the best of your knowledge, back to camp or whatever. What are y'all talking about now? What are y'all doing?
Tal's going to ask Diamondback why.
Ask him.
Why would we keep him, whatever, down there? She was stuck.
That creature is of great evil and power comparable to that of the dragon. I know it doesn't look as big, but I'm almost certain that was a lich. Legendary creatures. The undead, deliberately undead. They're the most powerful, beneath demigods. The most powerful endpoint for a wizard's career is to become.
That's what you're hoping to be.
I had considered it. I wasn't sure it was actually possible until I saw this one, but I'll have to think long and hard about it. They don't seem happy with their power, most of them, but it could be worth it. Still, though, if one is stuck somewhere, then it is best to leave them be.
I'll remember that when you become a lich.
And by the way, on the way out, I'm going to do, if I see any place where I can, maybe not on the way out, maybe like closer to the exit. If I see a place where it looks like I could maybe collapse a tunnel.
No, it's a well-structured tunnel. It's like this black, really, really difficult black stone, and though it has had some more of it wash in and making it uneven and thicker, it's not like weakened.
We should come
I
back
bet if you
here.
just pour, if we just started pouring like a ton of that black gravel stuff down the hole, eventually it'll like clog all up, right? Because it like mends together when it's resting. So we'll just dump it in there. Just
Yes, we probably should not destroy the lich as it remains inside of its tomb. However, it would be a good idea to block off this tunnel as permanently as we possibly can.
Why don't we want to destroy it? A lich sounds very dangerous.
Yes, well, this. Never mind. Just trust me. Trust me. We want it to stay alive underground. They come back.
How can it stay alive underground?
They're sort of like gods or undead.
I thought you said they were less powerful than demigods.
Yes, but the same way you wouldn't think that you could kill Palor, or I listed off a couple other gods, some of them maybe not real. You wouldn't think you could kill one of these without it being a working of great, extremely powerful magic to work the undoing of such a being as this.
So why would you even bring up the chance of us accidentally killing her?
Just trust me. We don't.
But
want
won't she
to
starve down
accidentally
there?
Kill her.
But
No,
won't
they
she
don't.
like starve?
That's you're not thinking correctly about this being at all. If you think that it could starve or suffocate, this is a entity way beyond such mortal considerations.
So what
Oh.
sorts of things
What
should
about
we
sunburns? So they
avoid
get
doing
sunburns.
to accidentally kill them?
Can't we just
Look,
cut off its head and keep it, and then just keep it in like a jar, and then don't destroy the head, and everything will be fine.
Look, there was when we came into its presence, there was a 100% chance that we would die.
But we're
I
still alive.
don't know why we're still alive. It's insane. Nothing can survive contact with an entity of such power and evil as this.
So
It
why
is-
do you take her box?
I wanted it.
So at this point, you have reached the fissure and emerged. Y'all seem to be having a mixed reaction, maybe good or bad naturedly ribbing Diamondback with questions about his quote unquote plan here. I don't know. We can work out details of that, of what y'all think about that, and I do want to hear. However, as you emerge from this fissure, you are on these that Belvari has created, basically difficult terrain of this sludge that he made into. Actually, it has reverted back now. It's been more than an hour.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? As you emerge from the fissure, and you're right at the edge of the street, to your left is the white stone, maybe 50 feet away. If you were to go down towards the right, you'd be back towards the entrance of this lake town.
Elvari runs over and gives the white stone a kick.
Okay. It's floating off the ground, so it's a very acrobatic one.
Kick.
Yeah,
I
there you
need to make an athletics check.
go. Yeah, let's do it. Make an athletics check. Sorry, an acrobatics check.
Acrobatics.
I'm going to call it a DC 13.
Acrobatics.
To roll
Plus
2 natural
0.
20s and it'll just flip around.
Come on, baby. 17.
All right.
Nice.
Belvari, you run at this stone and take a leap off of the edge of the fountain below it and do a brutal roundhouse kick to this white stone. And let me tell you, with those pants you're wearing, nobody wants a roundhouse kick to the face of those bad boys.
Bad boys.
But indeed, your blow lands and you also land in the muck, no worse for the wear.
I'm just checking.
Do you want to go back down towards the campsite?
I'm casting Chill Touch just all around. Ghostly hand, ghostly hand. Just not at anything. Just making lots of ghostly hands all over the place. They're just sort of crossing each other in midair.
Every couple of seconds, y'all are seeing little ghostly hands emerge, and it appears to you, although you can't tell for sure, Diamondback seems to be doing it, and also he seems to be trying to get, even though there's only one every few seconds, he seems to be trying to get two of them to do a high five.
Definitely trying to get two of them to do a high five. You definitely know it's me because I'm striking like a very goth sort of pose every time I do it. I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's not goth. I don't know how goth people pose. I'm like making a face, like, and there's like a power word that I say. There's like a verbal component to this. So you know it's me.
Like an anime character naming the move he's doing.
Yes.
Every time he does it, there's the faint sound of a donkey.
Can I try and high five one of the hands?
It's okay with me.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, high five. Take 12 billion necrotic damage.
Yeah, what's your AC?
Yeah, you do so.
I don't think it needs an AC check. It just hits me, right?
Oh yeah, so that's gonna be a nasty 2 points of damage, necrotic damage for touching this thing.
You feel a chill run not down your spine, but you're pretty sure down your soul.
I come up to you.
It hurts you badly. Of your 14, it takes 2 of your hit points away.
I come up and I'm like, oh, sorry. Here, let me take care of that. And I
and just turns into a skeleton.
No, I give you a hold on. It's called. Yeah, I think I know how to do this. Okay, and I like do some incantations, and it's like snake magic, and it's like shed your false skin of life and embrace the true power of death, and you get like ghostly scales.
And he wiggles and undulates his body.
Yeah. Like ghostly scales sort of form around the place where you were wounded, and you get 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points. You're not actually healed.
But you're all juiced up.
But you look like a snake now.
But yeah, you're juiced up. Like there, good as new. Good as new.
So
is it though?
No, it's not.
It's better.
As you walk back towards camp, to your surprise, you pass the part where the teleportation circle was, and you were expecting Neno, Yoshka, and Inkatink to go back to Miradau. To your surprise, you actually see coming towards you, carrying a lot of the camping gear, Toll and Lambrel walking up the road towards you as you emerge down the slope of muck.
I'll make it
firm for you.
Yeah, as we go. I can do 5 feet at a time, and I can have 2 of those. The 10
floating platform kind of deal.
Yeah.
Teco and Lambrel, sorry, not Teco. Lambrel and Toll are coming towards you as you are coming out. They are bringing a lot of the camping gear.
That's a Diamondback found a lich.
Lambrel has no idea what. Lambrel says, "Boy, I don't understand a word you just said."
I definitely
don't think Toll would
explain.
know what that is either.
Yeah, I don't. Like there's something very dangerous underground here Nobody should ever explore down there.
It's like an itch, but you can't scratch it.
We need to block it off.
But we can't accidentally kill the lich.
Well, we can. We just have to make sure that it survives. You know?
Something like that. It
Yeah.
was kind of unclear.
Toll, do you want to explain what you're doing?
We're moving the camp into the. What was it? A building or?
Yeah, a little house, basically.
Yeah. We're moving the camp into shelter.
Is that a good idea with the lich, Diamondback?
As long as we don't go too deep. I think
Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
stuck
I'm
where
just
it
doing what I'm
is.
told.
Doing what you're told.
I get it.
Toll, his face does not shift at all. He just stares at Belvari.
Talon does a pay laugh that's like, ah ha ha, that's funny. And kind of just walks off.
Lambro, let me see, manages not to cringe at the interaction you're all having, and says, Tekko, they found Adina. Tekko's with her.
Cool.
So we'll take our 10-minute break here. It's 9 o'clock. We'll be back at 9:10 and finish out this episode. Good?
Yeah.
All right.
So, Robert, I have a question.
Do it.
Spare the Dying, which is one of the ones that you said.
On YouTube, all of this stuff was on last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it off without stopping the stream.
Gotcha. I don't mind. I'll mute it if we aren't talking anymore.
That's a good idea. Spare the Dying is not a wizard spell.
Okay.
Do I have
Touche.
it?
You only have the spells you can have.
Okay. I think there are rules where wizards can have spells in their spell book that aren't.
Right.
They can have them, but they can't use them, I guess.
Oh, really?
I don't know exactly how the mechanics of that work, but will D&D Beyond let you add it as a spell?
No. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
then-
wizards can't. Yeah. Okay. Right.
You can know all about it, but not.
So
be
I've
able to do
added
it.
I've added all of the second level and lower necromancy spells that are wizard spells to Diamondback's spell book, which then he could prepare a certain number of each morning.
Cool.
I think it's not as many as he would have at this. I'm gonna during the break here. You can go on your break. I'm gonna figure out how many spells Diamondback would have if he had been on the regular wizard progression, and then ask you for whatever the difference is, if I can have some extra.
Yeah. Why and why? I just don't know mechanically. Can't you just in D&D Beyond add the spells that you?
Yeah. Well, but so D&D Beyond will let me add any spell to my spell book. I can
Got
have
it.
all the spells in my spell book. So for somebody who's like a druid or like a cleric, you can pick from any cleric spell in the universe to prepare each morning.
Right.
But wizards can't do that. Wizards can only prepare from out of their spell book.
Right.
But what you get for
But
that
it has
is that wizards
spell, right?
It has to be a wizard spell, yeah. But also, wizards have way more spells available to them than any other class. So that's
Right.
the trade-off is that I have to actually learn spells and put them in my spell book, and I get a certain number of those each level, I think.
Okay.
And-
Yeah. Do some research. See what it says.
Okay.
and we'll figure it out. I'm going to mute us just for the next 5 or 8 minutes or whatever's left.
Yep. Good idea.
Y'all ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Is Matt here?
He's about to sit
Jamming a
down. I see
guitar.
him. Yeah, banjo. Good night, Babs. I love you, girl. I love you, Babs. Good girl.
See ya. Good night, Aberdoo.
Cutie pie. I meant you.
So Robert,
Hey, what it is?
hold on, I have to sneeze.
I'm sorry. What? Oh, sneeze.
You get like different kinds of onions.
Yeah. Although they have to be different enough. Like maybe Vidalia versus the other ones. Pearl onions. Aren't those?
Yeah.
So like those
So-
would be really different ones.
Gotcha.
So you start with 6 first level spells in your spell book. I'm hearing an
Okay.
echo also. And then you get 2 more spells of a level that you are allowed to get spells of that level. Each level. Like each time you level up, you get 2 more spells for free in your spell book. So,
Cool.
and plus there's a number of cantrips that you can have. The ones that you told me to take, the necromancy spells of 2nd level and lower that are wizard spells that I can get that are not from some book that we haven't bought, like Strixhaven. That takes up 3 2nd level spots, 3 1st level slots, and 2 cantrips. So if I were on the regular wizard progression, I would have 2 more cantrips, 5 more 1st level spells, and 1 more 2nd level spell. You tell me what of those Diamondback may or may not have.
Yeah. That's okay with me. Like I said to whoever I said to once upon a time, the spells that you have for me would be, let me put it this way. You're a wizard, and that has some meaning. You have not been casting spells, but it's something about you. You've been studying in a wizardly way your whole life.
Right.
Belvari is a druid, not because he was being all druidy, but because, he found the druid within early in life or whatever. So that said, you're currently realizing and becoming what you really are. You can play it if you want to. I would request something like that you play it in a dramatically appropriate way. You could discover some of these over time. You could do them all at once if you just feel like, I just want to play them as they're all available to me because I've been lusting for power. That's fine with me too.
Well, I think
So play it however you want.
I think that Diamondback probably will discover different things as time goes on. But also all these the spells that are in his spell book, he does have them written down.
Right.
Like from the very beginning, he's had this cool necklace of like long teeth with like runic carvings, little itty bitty little tiny carvings on the teeth that might even look like just cracks, but they're actually writing. And those are, although he didn't realize it before, but those are actual spells written on that, like from the history of his people when they had real wizards.
So this people would not have ever had real wizards because of the forest.
Oh, that was part
You
of
would
my
not
history
have
of them, that they had real necromancers
Sure.
once upon a time.
You would not have had a concept of meaningfully of how to cast a spell without components. That said, I'm totally cool. Let me. I'm just going to pick a random one. List of necromancy spells up. Excuse me. And I'm happy for our audience, listening audience, to hear this as well. Let's go. I'm picking one that's on my page. Animate Dead, level 3. It takes a verbal, somatic, and material component. In this case, a drop of blood, this is the material components, a drop of blood, a piece of flesh, and a pinch of bone dust. I think the verbal part, just whatever makes sense to you as the way of doing the spell, you would have, something like, this is a traditional thing you say to honor, whatever. The somatic part, I think any reasonable cultural things, so snaky movements and stuff that y'all know somehow. The material part would be the part least likely for you to have a clear understanding of, because your concept of the material part is the components.
So normally,
that said, sorry, go ahead.
Normally, what a normal D&D rules, the spellcasting focus replaces the material components of spells.
Okay.
So I was assuming
that works for me.
This also sort of does that here too. Like what you
that
built
works.
is like a much expanded version of the sort of core rule, which is anyway.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. For reasons that will become clearer eventually, I hope. I modified the way spells have worked, obviously, for a lot of this, and I totally don't mind this being a catching up to D&D mechanics sort of step. So, that's the point. You can now cast, when you have your focus, you can cast spells without having to have those material bits present, though you still do need to do the verbal and somatic for those, including all the stuff like a verbal component. If you're hiding and you cast a spell with a verbal component, that could be hiding or something like that. Okay, Patrick, you here?
Yep.
All right, let's jump back in. So we are back in for the back half of this episode. Toll, you and Lambrel have now, you're finishing up moving site in one of these buildings. Y'all are a quick jaunt from the teleportation circle. As I described it to Dwight while you were gone, he said he was interested. Well, why don't you say, actually?
I want to, if, what's his name? Garriott comes through the teleportation circle, I want to immediately pepper him with questions about how he sent us off to sacrificed to Simdaron.
I think it was those dryads.
He was not the dryads. Dryads are good and nice.
No, they're bad.
What's a dryad?
You don't want to meet them, but they're good and nice.
That's right.
I'm very confused.
One of the things that Lambrel, so that's what Belvari is next. Talad, what do you see now that Diamondback appears to have his magical device? What's up with you? What do you think is a good direction to go here, or do you even have an opinion? What's it about?
Well,
you now know about the girl.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, y'all don't know about the girl yet. They're gonna tell you, I assume.
They had just said it, I think, right at the end.
Oh, she found a daughter. That's right.
Yeah.
Do I see a girl all stretched out, taffy like?
They haven't shown you that yet.
Okay.
No, we haven't seen that yet. We'll get you in a minute.
Talad, the thing that Talad really wants to do is get his focus, because the focuses he's seen previously were pretty cool. But he knows that there's like an order of things to go through, and whoever's next is next. So he's sort of just biding his time.
Okay. And
Take over.
He will start carving into the rock if he gets any chances, personalizing stuff.
His own rock.
Yeah.
The one that Morka gave him.
Yeah.
Okay. And Toll, you've come up, you've met these guys, you set your stuff down with Lambrel. Why don't we pick up with you, catching up them on what you guys know and asking how things have been going on their quest or whatever you're going to do.
So they don't know anything about Adina?
You just told them, Lambrel just said, Teco found Adina. And then we took our break.
That's all they know. Okay. Yeah, I'll say Adina seems trapped in something. I don't know if it's an illusion or something more nefarious, but she appears to be stretched in a translucent beam of light. It's the best way I can describe it. You should go see for yourself. It's
and Toll, before you finish, roll me a perception check.
all right. Okay. D&D Beyond is being weird. One sec.
I can roll you a d20 if you want.
Yeah, I might need you to. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay. A 9 plus whatever your perception.
All right, that's a 10.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You notice it's even odds, so that's good. Toll, excuse me. You notice no bigger than, gosh, I'm going to say the stem of a flower. So, a fairly tight thread. You notice several of these stretchy lines. You're not sure how to say it, but as you tell them about these lines from Adina, you notice a thread of them, like the size of a piece of yarn or something, maybe emerging from Diamondback's hand and going in the direction of Adina.
Look, did you see that? Something just came out of your hand.
What?
And Diamondback, as you inspect, you actually see this little thin, wispy, blue-white, shimmery shapes forming a line and going out of your hand in the direction of one of the buildings. So I assume you're holding the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, then yes, that's what you see.
Does it feel a certain way?
Nope.
How far away from the Bone City?
Y'all are a day's travel. Talid, you notice the thread is there pretty consistently. Now that you've noticed it, it's small. It's like I said, like the size of a piece of yarn, and hard to see. It's really thin and wispy, but it is actually pointing directly towards where Teco and Adina are.
We only know Teco.
You only know Teco's there, but you don't even know Teco's there. But Toll does.
Yeah. Is that related to the Lich Diamondback? What's going on there?
Does it feel like anything? Do I feel weaker when it comes out of me, or I just see it? It's only a visual effect.
It's only a visual effect, and what the visual effect is not clear to you.
I don't know what this is. I would like to investigate. Check it out.
The best way to see it is over where Teco is.
Okay,
let's go over there.
Go over there. Do I see the floating taffy transparent
So,
girl?
As you walk, so let me set the stage here for you so you can understand what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Y'all are at the what do you call it? Y'all are at the house, let's call it, for lack of a better word, the safe house or whatever, where Lambrel and Toll have been taking your equipment and putting it inside. They've now set it down. You've come out of the house, which is where Toll notices the threads. From inside, it was very dark and you couldn't see anything. Comes out of the house into the daylight, and he notices those threads pointing that way. Now, in order to get to where Teco is, Toll mentions to you, that you need to go up about, say, in our terms, about a block up the street or 2 blocks up the street, and then make a right-hand turn down an alleyway. That's the direction that this little bit of thread is coming from your hand. As you rotate your hand a little bit, it actually appears to be going through your hand and coming from the center of the phylactery, of the focus.
Maybe his daughter is your focus.
I think there's some magical force at work here. I fear it. And yet I am also strangely attracted. I go, but I'm going to make my way first to Adina if I see her.
That's where I told you go up a block and then down this road. That's Adina. Okay. That's where they are. Yeah. So you start making your way, and as you're watching this thread, it basically seems to be pointing to the same, wherever it's going. No matter how you move, it continues pointing that way, and appears to be pointing towards where Toll and Lambrel have described Tekko to be waiting.
Wait, the thread is going towards where they are? I thought it was going towards some house.
It is going towards Adina.
Awesome.
It is going towards. It seems to be touching your focus and wherever they are. You follow the thread. Okay. You start, as you turn the corner, you can see a couple 100 feet away, 150, 200 feet away. I don't know, however much I said before. You see 160 feet away or something. Tekko sitting on the roof of the house. As you turn, he's moving now as though alarmed, and you see these streaks in the sky, floating about 15 feet above the ground, about where Tekko is, facing, looks like away from you. You see the form of Adina just floating there, with Tekko looking at her. It's making strange gestures. The streaks are going straight from Adina to your hand.
Oh, they're coming from my focus and going to her.
It's really hard to tell. There's a thread connecting you. It's very narrow at the focus, and it seems to expand like it's being projected one way or the other to her form.
It looks like your focus is absorbing her soul.
Do you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talon's going to say, "Tell us, Diamondback, what does a phylactery do again?"
So I think
Tekko at this moment is looking back and forth alarmedly and sees you all rounding the corner.
So I would like to attempt this. I would like to cast this 2nd level spell. It's not quite right. Technically, I would need to have Adina's corpse or other remains. But
Okay.
I have a spell that I know of from my snake clan rituals, which what it does is it prevents.
What's it called?
It's called Gentle Repose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it basically prevents the like a body from becoming undead. Like it's a way of if you have a corpse but you're on the battlefield far away from the Snake Clan, this is the legend, then this is the ritual that you would do to like preserve things, the whole sort of spiritual situation of the person who's died, until you can get them back to the Snake Clan village, and then maybe raise dead on them. But if not, if nobody's, if we can't do raise dead, then maybe turn them into a zombie.
Okay.
Don't sleep. There's snakes.
You do your best from, you're a couple 100 feet away, like I said, 150 feet away. It doesn't seem to have an effect that you can tell. There's no corpse.
I don't want to do it 150 feet away.
Okay.
The range is
If you get closer, maybe it'll absorb her whole soul.
I will approach.
So what do you want to do?
I will approach a little bit closer. What do I see? 10 feet closer.
Roughly unchanged, although she is moving in ways that you would normally interpret as alarm.
25 feet closer.
Diamondback, why don't you go further away, and I'm going to go talk to Tekel.
Teko jumps down from his perch and is running full force at you, Diamondback. Through the smoke.
Okay.
Shouting something you can't quite make out.
Okay. Yeah, and what do I see magically?
Nothing meaningfully has changed.
Okay. I'll say to Belvari, yeah, perhaps I should not attempt this spell on her. I should probably back off for the moment.
Teko's covered about 2/3 of the distance.
Can we hear what he's saying?
He's shouting, "What are you doing to her?"
I say,
I think he's absorbing her soul.
Do you say that?
Yes. That's what I think is happening.
I say, this is a very dangerous artifact. I'm going to take it away from her. And I move backwards.
Okay. Yeah, you do that just as it looks as though he's about to lunge at you. But as you start moving away, he seems approximately satisfied and is forcefully saying, "Get away from her."
That's probably a good idea. There's deep magic afoot. And this.
So where do you go?
Artifact is bound up in it somehow. I know that her body is in the village, which is like a day's journey away. So I can't just go there, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I go back to camp.
Okay. They follow you, including Teko, and in the building where you are, the thread is now, everybody has seen it and is noticing it, is clearly visible constantly.
It doesn't break?
No, it goes through buildings. It's a straight line.
I walk. Once I get to camp and I see that it's still there, I point myself so that I am on the other side, so that the line is extending through me backwards to her, and I am facing along the line, and I go that way.
To where?
In that direction.
At camp. Sorry, when you say camp, you mean the new place where they've moved all the camp equipment, the house?
I didn't know that they had moved all the camp equipment. I'm heading back to the place where I slept last night.
Okay, that sounds good. But when y'all came out of the road, Lambrel and Toll were finishing moving camp into the house, so that they could be near where
go there. I don't want to be near them. No, I want to go to the edge of the lake where we had spent time with the dragon, far away from her spirit.
Okay, it'll take you about 20 minutes about half an hour to get there, just because you're walking down the road and then you have to cut around the side.
Yeah.
Anybody going with him or?
Sure, I'll go with him.
Okay.
After half an hour, does the thread stop?
You actually notice it continues to follow for when you're a few hundred feet away, maybe you're not exactly sure, 400 feet away. It's hard to tell because it's as the crow flies, right? No offense to Inkatink. But it's hard to tell because it's directly. But you notice that you can't really see it after a certain spot. Although looking just a little bit back in that direction, it's still there, clearly making a line straight towards the phylactery. It's just no longer touching.
I think we should just do this.
Agreed.
I continue on. The the distance that it took to become invisible, I would like to triple that distance and go that far away.
Okay.
Like
That takes you.
So what I actually, here's what I'm thinking. How far from where she is the entrance to the place where we got this thing, where the white stone is floating and the Baisugen first attacked me,
Yeah.
and we went down underground.
Yeah, maybe 800-ish, maybe 1,000 feet.
Okay, so
in a direct line.
At 1,000 feet, it was not having this effect. We saw it didn't have this effect when it was underground. And so I'm going to go 2,000 feet away.
So real quickly, do you want to talk with any of the others about what you're doing, or do you just want to do it?
I'm doing it because it seems like it's hurting her, and so I'm walking in this direction. But if anybody comes with me, I'll say, we didn't see this phenomenon while it was underground, and but I think it's probably a distance-related effect. Many spells have a particular distance at which they function, and after that distance, they no longer have any effect. And so I think if I go far enough away from her, the phenomenon will cease, and hopefully it will stop doing harm to her. We were about 1,000.
Sorry, go ahead.
We were about 1,000 feet when we first retrieved this artifact, and we didn't notice the phenomenon at that time. It wasn't apparent, and so I think I'd like to try doubling that distance and going that far. So I'll go to the edge of the lake, and if that's 2,000 feet, then I'll stop there. But if I still need to go further into the woods to get,
you have to go a little into the woods.
Yeah.
Not. Toll, do you say anything about this hypothesis? You can or can't, whichever.
No, I don't have any thoughts.
Okay. Lambrel points out that the entire time y'all were down there, she has been stretched out towards the white stone, and then he adds as an addendum, or really.
So it's been happening this whole time.
He seems to think so too. The stretching out effect seems to go from the image of her a few hundred feet before it kind of fades into nothing, but was pointing previously towards the white stone or under it, and it has been consistently pointing towards the phylactery as y'all have been moving around.
Is she below where the water level was when it was originally?
She is about halfway down.
Okay, so Diamondback says, "Okay, I think I understand her condition. She was attacked by the Baisugen, yes?"
Teko agrees, saying, I guess you could say attacked. It just touched her and she collapsed.
Yes. This artifact is closely linked to a very evil entity. It appears that entity cast a spell. I'm not sure if it's technically a spell, but this entity did a magical working, which is not complete yet. It's not my doing, but one of the things that the legends say about Lich is that they perform human sacrifice and they devour the souls of their victims.
Teko is visibly alarmed at this.
It's alarming.
So
the souls,
how can we destroy this phylactery?
If the legends are to be believed, perhaps a mighty wizard such as Garriott might have the means to destroy a thing such as this, but you or I, certainly I have no art to destroy it. Yes, it's something that only a mighty wizard or perhaps a great priest, somebody of great magical power could possibly destroy something like this. But I don't know how, and I don't know how the spell can be stopped once it's midway. I have one spell that if we cast it on her body, it might possibly halt the progress, but I don't know for sure. And really, I think that the best thing to do, I think we have to apply to Garriott. Garriott might know how to stop this spell. I think maybe something like Greater Restoration, I'll bet, could reverse this, or I don't know, Raise Dead or something. If she's technically dead, I have no idea. But the only character that I have encountered in this entire adventure, like I can think of a legendary ancestor in the Snake Clan who's been dead for 2 generations that would be able to do workings like this. And then also Garriott might be able to do something like this.
So Teko is listening to this alarmed, obviously, and is thinking about it. He agreed with Belvari, we should destroy it. We should get rid of it. But when you mentioned the difficulty in destroying it, he still wants to try, but he understands what you're saying. And Talad, it was similar to your experience. It was difficult to chisel it or anything like that, or you weren't able to do so. Teko muses for a moment and says, when I see her spirit, or I don't know what to call it, she seems to be reaching, striving for home. But drawn to this accursed thing.
Ooh, Talad's going to say, we could ask the Lich to destroy it. She's definitely got enough magical power.
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
If I asked you to destroy your own heart so that you died and were gone forever and could never be reborn in this or any other life, would you be amenable to that suggestion?
Well, no, but liches don't have hearts, so if we destroyed hers,
Yes.
then it would be fine.
I hold this up. They don't have hearts, but they have these.
But shouldn't she be dead if it's out of her body? I'm very confused about it.
It's deep magic.
Cool.
So all that Teko seems to know at this point is he says, look, Diamondback, I don't know anything about any of this, but my daughter is trying to get home, and this thing is drawing her in. You must not let it get close to her.
You could go through the portal. That would get you further away.
The teleportation circle.
Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm a little worried that Garriott's going to be like, why, thank you, and grab that from you and then become an evil lich lord now that I've learned about liches.
Oh, we could just send it through the teleporter and then kill the lich, and then it'll be his problem.
I strongly advise you against attempting ever to see or encounter the Lich ever again in your mortal life. It will be the last thing that you do.
Well, it seems harmless, basically. It's trapped in the rock.
Yeah, this guy hit it with a chisel and it just stood there.
Yeah, we'll just, like, grab my chisel and just knock at its head until it falls off. Well, it might still survive that, so we'll have to figure out. If you attempt
to go back into that cave, I will kill you.
Why?
Because
Wouldn't the Lich
then
kill me?
I might survive.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's mid-afternoon. What do y'all want to do?
Player versus player combat.
That's true.
Do it.
Mid-afternoon. What do you want to do? What are y'all's goals now that you seem to have found focus?
I don't know.
No? Okay. You can wait here. You can wait here for a few days until they return. You could set yourselves about something. You could
Do we have the means to go to where Garriott is?
You do. Diamondback, you know how to make the symbols, and you know where some of the gems are.
Yeah. So I'll say I propose that we join the others in what's the name of the town? Garoda? No.
No, Grota was the place where Sleen
Oh,
got in
Garoda
trouble.
is the town I'm going to burn to the ground.
Yeah. They are in Miradau.
Miradau. I say I think that it's past time that we go to Miradau. Garriott is the wisest mage that I know of. If anybody can help us with this and tell me about the nature of this thing and perhaps undo this vile working that's on it, it would be him.
Teko insisted to be here with Adina. Just he doesn't have anything to do about that. But Lambro and Lambro says he's going to stay with Teko. They're together, like they're what would you call them? Kin, basically. Y'all can go if you want. The teleportation circle's right there. You're welcome to do it. It'll cost you 12 gems. Diamondback, you know how to set it up. You memorized all of the symbols.
I'll go with Diamondback.
Sure, I'll go too.
Toll?
Sure.
So
Okay. Teko and Lambro are reticent to stay by themselves, but Teko's not going to leave. So they're going to try to figure this out. While you're gone, they consider the possibility of going to Sarakan, the village they came from, with the bones. But they haven't decided on that for sure yet. They're just trying to figure out what they can do. Y'all ready to go? You want to get together? It'll take you about 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get all the stuff together and make your ascent. Make your, not ascent, but journey. How many of the remaining gems do you want to take? It looks, based on your estimate, you didn't count them, but it looks like Yoshka took half in his backpack approximately.
well, I think since we're the other half of the party, we take all the rest of them.
Each take a third.
Sure.
A fourth?
Oh, there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
Each take a fourth. Diamondback didn't get any because he's evil.
Yeah, you want to split them up a fourth for each of you. That gives you a couple dozen each. It's 12 to get through the teleportation circle, although you have to know the symbols and... Sorry, waiting for the refrigerator. You have to know the symbols and shapes to put on them. Diamondback, you've memorized them. So did Inkatink. Y'all don't know any, but it doesn't hurt to have split the gems up. Okay, so that sounds good. You get that ready. You leave Lambro and Teko with what they think is a good defensible position. I think Teko is mostly interested in seeing what happens when you go through the teleportation circle with a cursed item.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll probably inform for them whether they try to go back or stay
Destroy the
here
teleportation circle after we go through it.
or go. They are Teko in particular Lambrel in particular is uncomfortable here. They know this as a horrible place of terror, and this lake, plus the entire landscape is horror and terror. Except for they've been with you crazy, powerful people who know dragons and stuff.
Mm.
So, and you killed the also super weird.
How to stay behind with them if they're too worried?
Lambrel has never been this far. He's never been to the lake. Teko has come here hunting before. This is their home turf. They're a full day's travel. Teko feels like he can get them home, but it's also like back to their other life that seems so different than the past week has been.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want to do?
No, I think if he feels like he can get him back, if
Okay.
something happens, then I'll leave.
Okay. Do you leave them? They have like a campfire and spit with some, rabbits and stuff they've cooked. Do you leave them with the camp, or do you want to take it with you, or like just the stuff that y'all have set up for shelter and such?
I mean, I take my own bedroll and
your
all
stuff.
my stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
Even
that sounds
if-
good.
Keep whatever is
Hold
convenient
on
for
us.
them.
Okay, that sounds good. Some of the other guys, Yoshka and left some of their stuff here at the campsite because they're planning to
leave
return.
it here.
Okay. Well, you get it set up, and you go into this room. And remember, this room is large, right? It's 80 feet on a side, 60 feet, 80 feet on a side, 2 stories tall, and has this cage of black spires coming down from the ceiling with one partially missing. I assume this is making a sort of containing cage for circle. Diamondback, you want to set it up for?
Yes, indeed. Going to
Do.
talk to Garriott.
So you do, and you carefully place the gems as the other 3 of you stand outside the circle. You're inside the cage, outside the circle. There's a band of several feet wide that you can stand on. To your relief, you've never actually done this before. You've seen it done a couple of times only. To your relief, a little bit of black smoke starts swirling. You notice this ball forming. It's slower than what you've done before, and it does not appear to be coming easily through the rock. Instead, from somewhere above, it's coming in and starting to form, but it forms this swirling black-gray mist. And by the time it has become a 10, 12-foot sphere resting on the teleportation circle like almost a globe resting on its base, each of you from your own vantage point see the swirling tunnel form as you have seen before. The mist in front of that tunnel clears. Each of you, if you were just from wherever you're standing forward, you feel like you're heading dead down the center of this tunnel, which this tunnel is positioned in this 15-foot sphere of smoke, but appears to go 100 feet into the distance. You remember this effect. You want to go in together? You've got a good 5-10 second window of it being open and ready.
Let's do
I
it.
want to hold
Yep.
hands when we go through.
Good?
Sure.
Sure. I don't want to hold Diamondback's hand.
You can hold somebody else's hand who's holding mine.
Diamondback, are you going to keep clutching your phylactery in the one hand?
Yes.
I do want to hold Diamondback's hand, and I want to hold that phylactery.
And Belbari, are you going to hold yours in one hand? Your medallion?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not the hand that I'm holding the phylactery with.
Okay.
My medallion phylactery.
Okay. And maybe Toll and Talent can hold each other's hands.
Sure.
Or hold a rope or something.
I'm ready in action.
I can hold someone
What's the
else's
trigger?
hand with
The trigger is something scares me.
And you do what?
I cast invisibility
Scream?
on myself.
Oh, cast invisibility. With components.
No, actually, I took a feat that gives me
Okay.
invisibility as sort of a native, like magic shadow ninja ability.
Sounds great. You take a few steps forward, and as before, I wouldn't say it's familiar to you, but it's at least not completely foreign. You walk down this path, the 4 of you together. The mist is below your feet. There's no visible floor, but I wouldn't say it's hard, but it's firm. It doesn't feel exactly like stone or soil or anything else, but it is, a firm surface that's not shaking or wiggling or anything. It's not like a rope bridge. You walk a few feet in, 10, 15, 20 feet in, and as you look straight ahead of you, the tunnel continues into the distance as you remember before. Looking behind you, it seems to have closed behind you again, like before, maybe 10 feet behind you. Instead of being a tunnel backwards, it's just a swirling mist that's sort of following behind you. Each of you roll me a d20.
Thanks.
Or would you mind doing it for me? Because D&D Beyond still seems to be
Yeah, I got it.
weird.
What'd you get?
13, lucky number.
2. And Diamondback, Matt?
5.
Okay. And you walk down this tunnel without any incident that you can tell. You notice this place has an unusual feel to you. There's no external light source. Diamondback, you're emitting a little bit of light from your shoulders, but really the black mist itself, in the surpassing blackness around you, seems almost to be more of a dark gray and emitting a sort of ambient light all around. Or maybe it's not the mist. Maybe it's just that there's some visibility here. You walk for what feels like it could have been a few minutes, maybe an hour, 2 minutes. It's hard to tell in this place, if it is a place at all. And before too long, the tunnel ahead of you that has stretched out infinitely seems to have a light, and you're coming towards the end of it. This, you remember, is how the tunnel behaved the last time you walked into it, when Gary had sent you into a sort of place in the middle of the wilderness. You emerge. It is late afternoon, as it was, but you notice a familiar feeling. The forest here is just different than the forest you've been. This one feels, it takes you a moment, each of you, to kind of categorize it, but you realize you have a sense of being home. The light here is different. The trees are not so dark and mossy. It's more yellow-green. It's a different kind of leaf in the canopies above. And it just feels more familiar. The ground, as you step in, the mist dissipates. You're standing in a teleportation circle. There is a almost wicker-like basket around you, like a cage, and the familiar sight of Miradau just ahead. It's late afternoon, as I said. Unlike last time, there's no one sitting guard in front of the town. The door to Miradau is closed. Remember, they have this big woven circular door that they can roll open and roll closed. It is closed, and you see and hear nothing aside from, the forest and the Miradau. You're in this cage. You'll remember it from last time. It's got a door, a cage.
I go over to the door and try to push it open.
In fact, it swings open easily. It does not seem to have been locked or prepared for arrival.
Oh, nice. So it doesn't need a firebolt.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder where everybody is.
I don't know. Let's go. We go into Miradau. We knock on the door.
Could be a trap.
After a few moments, you hear from the other side a deep orc voice. What's that? Who's there? You actually recognize the voice. It is the voice of... wrong town. It is the voice of the head of the guard of Miradau. You recognize his voice from when y'all were here. He is an orc, and he says, what's that? Who's there?
We are but 4 simple travelers.
It's Diamondback, Garriott's apprentice.
There's a few moments, and then you hear some shuffling, and then not far away, but from a good 15, 20 feet and coming closer, you hear this sound. Oh, what another surprise. And the door rolls open a little bit, one person to get through at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And the orc says, hurry, come in.
I go in.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Toll?
Yep.
Diamondback?
Sure thing.
Okay, you go in, close the door. Most of the town, you can see that people have packed up their stuff. There's like piles of, not like huge piles, just bundles of things, backpacks for the ready, things people can carry. The town, remember, has 15, 20 people, including children. There's a few children. Most of the town is there, and they're out scrambling, doing different things. Garriott is standing there with several of the townsfolk, and you see Inkatink standing a little bit away, glowering. And
At Garriott?
no, just off in the corner. And Neno standing next to him, looking like she's comforting him or something.
Comforting Ingetink. All right. Belvari goes up to Garriott and says, "Old man, why did you send us to die?"
I think there's been a misunderstanding.
Oh, I do think that myself.
Let's sit down and have some tea.
You want to trick me into believing your lies?
Now, Inkatink, you hear him muttering and mumbling to himself as Neno is over there with him and pacing.
I mean,
It's not.
I'm just giving everybody opportunity to say things if you want to.
I'm waiting in line to talk to Garriott, but I haven't heard this many words out of what's his name?
Belvari.
I haven't heard this many words out of Belvari ever. So I'm gonna let him
We're in
talk.
that circle of silence.
So Neno seems to see you and jogs over. Inkatink is still just kicking the dirt over where he was.
Oh yeah, where's what's his name? The tall guy.
Yoshka.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking, Neno?
Yeah.
Oh. Neno jogs up to you and you say,
Hey, where's that tall guy?
she's distraught and says, Yoshka?
Yeah, I think that's his name.
We don't know. He disappeared in the tunnel.
It was probably Garriott.
And that's where we're going to end this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you guys for playing and being played.
I think we were playing a lot in this session.
So we will pick up next week. Remember, you all listeners can find out more about the Starfall Collective and the stories we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. We will be back next week with, I guess, everybody
Except Yoshka.
because y'all are now back together in Mirdow after a short party split.
Yep.
All
Should
right.
have stayed behind. Keep the split alive.
All right. Have a good night, y'all. I'm going to leave the studio open here until we're uploaded. You can disconnect if you want.